I went over pages, I went over callouts, I went over headings, I went over toggle headings, subheadings, bullet points, hyperlinks, emojis, commands like Command Shift P, Command Shift F, Command Shift H, the slash that can show you everything you need. I went over paragraphs, I went over bold, italics, command line text, table of content, bullet points. What else do we go over? We went over to-do lists, we went over creating a board, went over the different views, we went over the style, the text size, pricing, full width, and dark mode, of course. I think that pretty much covers everything about Notion. Today we're going to be doing a Notion tutorial, and I'll be showing you how to use Notion, how I use Notion, and just giving you a quick guide on Notion in general. So if you're not familiar with Notion, it's a notes-taking tool, productivity tool, planning tool, whatever you want to call it. And I consider myself a Notion power user because I've been using Notion for a while now. I think like 3 years. I consider myself pretty good at Notion because I'm able to like really use it, bend Notion to my will, for lack of better words. So pretty much just using Notion to take notes, plan my career, plan a bunch of things, just really use Notion to its fullest capabilities. And I think it's very valuable for your career if you really want to learn how to like take good notes, plan, and just really use this particular tool for your career planning, whatever the case is, right? Like I said, once again, like I consider myself a Notion power user, so I'm coming from that perspective of someone who has used Notion for a while and just kind of wants to share that experience. Also, disclaimer, I will be providing Notion templates at the end. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. All right, let's go ahead and get started with Notion. So I think it's important to kind of start with maybe even the pricing of Notion, because it's kind of like, let's kind of look at what Notion costs for anyone who wants to use Notion. There's a free plan. I also believe there's a student plan as well, which is, I believe, heavily discounted as well. So let's actually take a look at that first before going into how to use Notion. This is Notion's website, and let's go ahead and look at pricing. So pricing, there's the free pricing, there's a plus pricing, there's a business, and there's the enterprise. I believe I'm using the either plus or business. It's a plus one I'm using, right? So it's very capable for everything I need to do, right? The business, I think that's a bit of overkill because like, everything you really need is in the plus version if you're just someone who is using Notion. The free one is good, but it definitely comes with some limitations, right? So the page history, yes, I know a bunch of other things as well. But I think it's good to start with the free version, kind of see the tool and evaluate it, and see if it's something that you really want to get into using more and more. So definitely start with the free version, and I'll drop a link to pricing here so you can go ahead and actually get started with Notion if you want to. Let me drop it here. So we've gone over the pricing. Like I said, I think the free version is very capable, but if you want more, definitely go for the plus. Should be all set. So the thing about Notion is kind of works in blocks. That might sound weird, but I'll show you what that looks like. So when you come into your Notion, probably have like a blank template or whatever, right? And the very first thing about Notion is notes, right? So note taking is like one of the big things when you're using Notion. So let's say, for example, I want to take notes about cybersecurity basics, right? So this is the very basics of Notion. So from the start, you can just take normal notes, right? Regular notes. Let me make this bigger. So regular notes, right? Just type in stuff, right? Actually, you could just type random stuff. Let me just copy a random blurb of something so I can put in here and show you what that would look like. So copy and paste. All right, cool. And I'll just make this basics and turn this into text and just put this here and copy this and just keep pasting it. All right, perfect. So you can just write notes, right? Regular note taking, note typing, right? Whatever you want to call it. Next is, pages, right? So Notion is also divided into pages, right? So let's say this is like a class, for example, right? Let's say we're taking a security plus class or whatever, right? Security plus class, right? But you need to subdivide that class into more things, right? This is where pages come into use. And one thing that's cool about Notion is you can use the slash command or just type in slash, and it gives you a list of things for your blocks. I mentioned blocks earlier on. And decide what exactly you want to do in this particular situation, right? So you just want to write text, you want to do a page, you want to do a to-do list, heading, whatever the case is, right? I'll go into all of these things later on. Let's say we want to do a page, so we can do a page for network access control, and this is a page where you can go ahead and write whatever you want to write about network access control in here. You can go back here, right, and your page is available in this main security plus block or security plus page. So it's a page within a page, and they can add another page within this page again, right? So you can add another page in here, right? So let's do page, and then let's say cloud network access control, right? So a specific thing you wanted to create a whole page about, right? Cloud network access control. So cloud network access control, and you can write your notes in here for cloud network access control. And what's nice about this is the fact that you can see your pages on the left side of the screen, right? So if you go down here, you can see how your pages are subdivided down, right? So you can see here the security plus class had a page about network access control and then a sub page about cloud network access control. So that way you kind of have a nice hierarchy and you can keep going down that way. I don't really think this is the most efficient way to take your notes. I'll be going over why. I think so later on, but that's kind of, you know, a good start to that. So let's say we just wanted to put a description here. We'll just put something like this contains my security plus notes. Poof. And then let's say we had another page here for security compliance or something, right? Under security plus, whatever that is, blah, 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 blah. But you can see this kind of looks really bland, right? It's dry. I think it's really dry. Sometimes I like to add character to my notes. And one good way to do this is through callouts, right? So a callout essentially is like a way to like bring importance to something in Notion. So for a callout, once again, the slash is always very handy. When you type slash in your Notion, it would immediately show you a list of things. And over time, you start learning what the different codes for the things you're looking for are. So slash and then search callout. It would immediately give you the option for a callout. Now, I want to specify that these are my security plus notes. So I want to have this like in a really nice callout format, right? So I can just copy this here, cut that, and paste that in here. This contains my security plus notes, blah, 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 and just like a nice description here. So that looks a lot better. That looks way better, right? It looks a little neater, but we can add a little bit more character to this page, right? So we can go ahead and add a cover to this page. So what's nice about Notion is you can add a nice cover at the top, right? So how you do that is just by going up here, hovering over the top, and you see the option for a cover. So add cover, and you can change this cover to like a color, right? Or you can upload your own photos, right? If you have a nice photo you want to upload, you can upload that. You can add a link to a photo from like Google or wherever. Or Unsplash, you can search for something like cybersecurity, and you get free images you can use for a nice cover photo. So let's say I wanted to use this really cool hacker-ish type cover. Poof. Nice. Looks way better, right? This went from completely bland to really nice view of my notes. But what's even better is I can add an icon to my notes, right? So let me go over how you actually do that again. So once again, you hover at the top, add an icon, and then you can search for like an emoji. So you can search for like a lock for security, or you can search for specific icons here, right? So there's some really cool icons here. Same thing, you can search for that. You can also put a custom icon. So let's say you're doing like Splunk, for example. Let me actually do a quick search for my Splunk notes. Do a Control P, Splunk, and you can see here I downloaded the logo for Splunk and uploaded it as cover for that note. So that way it looks kind of nice when I'm looking at it, right? So and then when you go over to the side here, you can see it has like that nice icon there. So it's really nice to look at. You can also add the same thing here. So let's say for network access control, I wanted to add like a globe to signify network. So let's just do globe. That looks nice. Compliance. Let's say I just want to put like police officer type emoji or whatever. All right, boom. And then when I open this to the side, I can see, actually, let me make this something different. What was this? This was cloud. Okay, let's just put a cloud emoji there. Cloud. And that just took it from completely looking bland to something as nice as this, right? So I can see the different icons, and it adds a little bit more character to my notes, right? Which I like, right? Because I think having some sort of character to your notes makes it a lot more interesting to look at. So that's a really nice way, right? So we've went over notes, pages, callouts as well. So giving your notes a little bit of character. Then you can also divide things in your notes, for example, right? So let's say, for example, this was just not for Security Plus class. This was for second semester cybersecurity major or something, whatever, cybersecurity major or whatever, and I wanted to divide this into like various like course types or whatever, right? And this is just an example. You can these same concepts you can apply to like your various notes, right? Let's say you're starting for certification or whatever, and it has like different sections or whatever. You can divide it, right? So there's another thing you can use, which is called a divider. Once again, use a slash and then search for divider, and boom, divider. All right, talking about dividers, so let me go over that again. So dividers, so you wanted to divide your notes into like different things. You can just add like once again, the slash is your best friend because it gives you access to all the different things you can do. So slash, and then I'll do divider. Poof, I have a nice view for another section of my notes. Let's say I wanted to go over physical security, right? I had a class I was talking about physical security. So a page for physical security. Nice. All right, and then it's separated, right? Let's put like a gate here, like a door as yeah, there we go. But this still kind of looks bland, right? We could add a lot more character. It looks kind of bland. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add headers to these different sections, right? We're gonna add headers, make them look a lot better. So Notion has like, if you're familiar with like Markdown or like even Google Word or Google Docs or Microsoft Word, there's headers, there's like different size headers. Or even if you're using Confluence has like headers for like H1 to H6. HTML has headers for H1 and H6. Notion has headers for H1 to H3, which is header 1 to header 3, different sizes accordingly. So let me actually show what I did there. So like I said, Notion works in blocks. So if you want to add another, just put a plus and it will add a block down below, and they can select what you want to add. Let's say I want to add a header for, let's say, medium size. So header 2, which is like medium, not too big. Header 2 for cybersecurity, right? Random thing. Cybersecurity. So I have a nice header for cybersecurity classes. All right, cool. That's how I want to add a header for operational security. So let's do H2 here again. So operational security, that's going to be physical security. And I can just take out, this looks good. All right, so this still kind of looks bland. I like a little bit of character to my notes. So we can add a little bit more character. So if we highlight this, right, we can actually do a couple of things here. We can bold in this. Can we actually? Okay, we can't actually bold in headers, which is kind of sad. But we can make this italics. We can underline this. We can slash through this, whatever we want to do, right? But I'm gonna take out this. But yeah, we can add more to it. So what I want to do here is add color to this. So once again, you can highlight this and then go over here to where this A is and then select the color. So I can make this gray. That looks dead. I can make this brown. That's cool. I can make this green, or I can make this blue. But there's actually a nice shortcut for this, right? I already know that I want to make this blue, right? So I'll just highlight this and I'll just do Control-Shift-H and it makes it blue for me. But let's say I no longer want to make this blue anymore. I can go back and do Control-Shift-H and it changes it back to black, right? So caveat behind this is you have to have used the blue color in the last time you change the color of something in your notes. So that's another thing. But you can change the color, right? It has a little bit more character to it. You can add a background to it, right? So you can make this like, you know, whatever color this is, like a brown background. You can make this a pink background, right? And you can always change this back to, you can always use the same shortcut, the Control-Shift-H as well for the same command. But the caveat behind that is you have to make sure that you use that specific background or specific color the last time you made any changes. But I'm going to change this back to blue and that looks totally fine. I'll just make this like purple or something. But let me just do a quick comparison between heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So once again, the slash is your best friend. It gives you the list of things you can do. So heading 1, right? This is what it looks like. It's this big, right? Heading 1, heading 2, again, heading 2 is this big. Then heading 3 is this big. All right, so you kind of see like the differences. So it's really nice if you're taking notes and you want to kind of like subdivide your notes into like different sections. So like main topic, subtopic, and then subtopic, right? So it kind of gives you like that kind of hierarchy with your notes. So this is totally fine, looks good. So we're getting somewhere, but sometimes like this could get this could go really far, right? I could have like a ton of notes or a ton of pages, right? Let's say I have like, I don't know, another page that's like for social media security, right? Whatever that means, right? Now I'll add a icon for like an iPhone here, right? Something. Yeah, so I have an iPhone icon here. By the way, these emojis look way better if you have a MacBook. My MacBook makes this look way better. I don't know why Windows have these like really these emojis, but yeah. So this is good, right? But once they start like getting a lot more, right? It starts becoming a lot. So I have to start scrolling down. So let's say I copy this here again. I had a bunch of different kind of classes, right? So like scrolling through these like might not be like the most convenient thing. I kind of want to see everything in a really nice view, right? So let me take out this divider. What I can do is I can use toggles to make these things hide under various sections. So I can turn these headers into toggles. So if I click on this, right, I can change this into a toggle heading. And the same thing with the head and hierarchies. You have header 1, header 2, header 3. You can also have like toggle headers for like different sizes as well. So toggle header 2 and boom, it hides it under there. Same thing here. I can do the same thing here. Toggle heading 2, boom, hides it under there. And you can see again, this brings us back to the concept of blocks, right? These are different blocks. So it automatically knew that these two things were under this particular block. So it would automatically attribute them to it and automatically put them under those things as a toggle. So let me do that for all of these things. So heading 2, toggle heading 2, toggle heading 2, close that up, toggle heading 2. And this is really helpful if you're taking notes, right? And you want to have like a really nice view of your notes without everything just sprawling across like a very long list, right? Or even if you're like preparing for an exam, let's say like, for example, you want to ask yourself, let's say question, right? So let's do slash and then we'll do a toggle heading. So apart from toggle headings, there's the toggle list, which is just like a regular list, but there's a toggle headings which are entirely different. So you can do a toggle list and you could say something along the lines of what is today's date? That's your first exam question. What is today's date, right? And you can hide the answer inside here. Today's date is Sunday 18th December 2022, right? And poof, and you can make a different page for this for practice exam questions, right? And this is like an actual practical use case by which you can use Notion, right? Let's even for certifications you're studying for. And you can move this, right? You can drag this and move it inside that page, right? So move it from one page into another page. So you can drag different things and move them inside each other. So move it into this page and boom, you can put a ton of questions in there. I actually have an example for this, I believe. I can show that later on. But you can, kind of have these like, different questions, right? So if you have like a ton of questions you're coming up with as you're studying, right, just list them on there, put them on there, put the answers in there. You can use it for revision. You're done studying, right? So it's kind of like the concept of notes. And I think I do have an example here that I can point to and close this. All right, and yeah, perfect. So in this sample note taking template, right, I'm gonna actually go over a table of contents in a second. But what you can do here is, you're taking notes about TCP/IP, OSI layer model, right? So here I've subdivided each of the important topics into 4 major toggle lists, and these are all H2 toggle lists, right? So I can go into this, take as many notes as I want to take, right? You can have a main idea, the topic is about, and summarize it on there. Paragraphs, bullet points. So I'll show you what bullet points look like in a second. And then you can add relevant links under another toggle list within this main toggle list. And then when you're done with the notes, close it up, boom, you're done. Take notes about TCP, right? You're done. Take notes about UDP, you're done, right? So it's a really nice way of, kind of highlighting like, different things into like subsections. And if you are someone who takes notes in a hierarchical format, it's a really nice way to outline how you're thinking of what you're learning in a really hierarchical format, the way you think. So let's go over table of content and some other cool things as well. So let's go back into our test note here. So like I said, this looks nice and looks a little better. It's a test, so it's kind of repetitive. So bear with me. So another thing you can add here is your table of content. So let's, once again, our slash is our best friend. It helps us search for what you're looking for. So let's search for table of content. So we can see here, table of content, show an outline of your page, and click that and it will automatically generate a table of content of what you have in your notes. This is a really convenient way of easily finding things in your notes, right? So if you have like a sort of hierarchical structure to your notes, if I put this inside here, for example, it should automatically populate. I don't know why it's not doing that yet, but it takes some time to load up. But if I had insert a hierarchical structure to my note, it will show me, right, these different hierarchies. And as a matter of fact, let me actually show you what that would look like. So if I go back in here and I take this out, let me just go back and a couple of things out. All right, cool. So let's just do H1 actually. So H1, this is the main header, and then let me do it H2. This is a subheader, and the H3, this is a sub header. Now you can see how it actually shows you an outline of these different things in subheaders, right? So you can see that this is a subheader of this is a subheader of this, right? And then if you go back to another main header, right? So H1, this is a new header. And you can see it immediately shows you this is a different subset. This is a different header. So a new topic you're starting to explain or whatever the case may be, right? So this is a really cool thing with the table of contents. Once again, just your slash and then search for what you're looking for, table of content, and it will immediately outline your page for you. Next is bullet points. So of course you're going to like take notes, like list things. So like day 1, day 2, right, day 3, right, very convenient, right, and it keeps making the bullet points for you. So that's bullet points. Next is hyperlinks, right? So let's say you're taking notes about something, you want to link something you found on YouTube or somewhere, right? So let's just do a note like this is a hyperlink for learning Notion. The same way you would hyperlink in like Word or Google Docs or like Confluence, right? Double click and then just click link here and then pop that in there. Poof. And there you have your hyperlink. Now, what's even better is that you have the ability to hyperlink notes you already have in your Notion note. So let's say you want to relate something back to a note you took earlier on. So you want to say something like this refers back to network access controls needed for a better security posture, right? Random statement. I can copy the link to this note and hyperlink it using these words, and boom, and it will let me hyperlink that. So let's look at what is actually inside network access control. Bunch of random stuff. Again, click in here and boom, it shows us the exact same notes. So you can hyperlink other notes you have in Notion and easily access them that way. So I think I've gone over the major things. You can also add emojis. On Windows, it's kind of weird on Windows, but on Mac, there's like this button that's like a globe button, I believe, and click that button and it will allow you add like emojis, something like this. So let's say like here, you can add an emoji like right beside like your notes, right? Just for the sake of, what's the word? These words escape me all the time. Sake of beauty, whatever. just make it look better, right? Just customize it to your own personal use case. So it's kind of how that could work. So we've gone over pages, we've gone over callouts, headings, we've gone over toggle headings, subheadings, bullet points, hyperlinks, emojis. Another thing is also to-do lists. So let's say you were taking your notes. I think I have a good example here, and you want to take like a to-do list for something that you're working on, or something you want to further research, or like just a regular to-do list for your day. So you can just actually, let me just make a new page for that. Let's say things to study. Well, let's just do a quick, oops, whatever. Just close this out. So let's just do a quick H3 for things to study, right? So once again, the slash is your best friend. So slash and then to-do list. Boom. So study more networking. All right, study more about the OSI layer model, whatever that is, right? And boom, you have your to-do list, and you can mark these things as complete whenever you finish them, right? So mark complete, right? And boom, it's cleared out of your things you need to do. Some other shortcuts for Notion, of course, let me see. I already showed you the slash. That's your best friend. Always use the slash. Next is your Control-Shift-H for coloring. So Control-Shift-H, it will change the color according to what the last color you used. The next command is Control or Command-Shift-P if you're using a Mac. For Windows, Control-Shift-P lets you search for like anything in your entire Notion repository. So I have a ton of things like in my entire Notion repository. Then Control-F will help you find things within your specific Notion notes. So let's say I'm looking for things, it would immediately find that for me. But yeah, that's this list of things that I think important. So let's take a look at another thing that's really cool with Notion when you're taking some really, really important notes about specific things. So take, for example, let's go into one of these security compliance, blah, 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 blah. No, okay, that's cool. So we took some notes about security compliance and we could bold in things. So let's say do like, okay, a new paragraph, compliance is very necessary, right? Or else we'll get fined. A random statement. So Control A, universal command for highlighting things. So, or Command A if you're using a Mac. Control A, and then of course Control B for bolding, Control I for italics for underlining, Control U, and you also have all of these same options available to you up here, right? So bold, italics, underline, strike through. I already kind of showed that. Next thing you can do is also if you're taking notes like for like technical content. So like let's say like I'm learning Linux, I'm learning Windows commands, and I want to take notes on like the commands I'm using or commands I'm learning. So we'll do something like Linux commands. So H3. Actually, let me go back to the main page and start a new note here. So H3 Linux commands to know. So ls, cat, remove, what else? Those are good. So these are cool. They look nice, but they're kind of bland, right? The thing about taking notes in Notion is it makes them a lot better. Your notes can look way better than just like bland notes like this. So you can go ahead and highlight this and use the command shortcut Control E, and it immediately changes it to a nice command format, right? And you can also bold in this, right? So your commands don't no longer look bland and bare. So like Control B here, make that cat, Control B here, Control E, make that make directory, Control B, Control E, and boom, right? It looks way better. It looks way better than just ls, cat, make directory, rm. You can't tell me that doesn't look better when it comes to command. And what's even cooler is the fact that you can actually change the colors again with Control-Shift-H. Boom, changes to a different color. You can also change that color, I believe. Okay, it's not letting me do that. Oh yeah, you can change the color. Okay, so you can change the color to like a blue, whatever piques your interest, right? So let's say I wanted to do these commands to be blue because we love the blue team, right? Go blue team. Control-Shift-H, blue. I can just highlight all of these, right? Just make them blue. All right, once again, Control-Shift-H for changing color, right? So perfect. This looks way better, and I can add like the description of this command, right? And let me change the color back to black. So list contents of a directory. Come on, tell me that doesn't look way better than this. List contents of a directory. Way better. Absolutely way better. Now, let's say you're also someone who's learning like how to code or Python or whatever, right? And you want to kind of take your notes in Notion. Notion helps you put your notes in a really nice view of whatever programming language you're using. So once again, slash is your best friend. So slash code. What happened? Nothing happened. Okay, just lying. Let's look for a nice code snippet. So let me go and search for my Python notes. Control P, Python. Let's see. I think I have some notes in Python, some Python notes. Let me see. Port scanner. I know I took some notes of port scanner. Why can't I find? Okay, you know what? Let's just search for a random Python script on the internet. Python script. I was just go on my GitHub to find out like a random Python script. Let's do that. GitHub.com/daycyberwox. And boom, there I am. And to go to repositories and go into my automate the boring stuff and grab a nice Python script. Let's see. All right, nice, cool. Not the best Python script out there, but okay, I'm gonna copy that and use that as an example for this. So Control C, Control V, nice, cool. All right, so sorry for the delay there. I'm not exactly great at Python, but this is actually not even the best example I could possibly use. It's a bunch of comments and just a bunch of like declarations. I should be able to find something way better. Let's see. Oh, nice, perfect. Found a nice Python script. All right, cool. There we go. So cool. So this is what it looks like in Notion, right? So you can actually automatically select, it doesn't actually automatically select it. However, you can select the actual language that you're using for, you know, these notes or whatever code it is, right? So it supports a ton of languages. So you can just click on here and then click on Python, and it would automatically change this to like whatever format it's supposed to be in. So like if you're like learning how to code in like whatever R or whatever it is, right? It would change the format accordingly, or like JavaScript, right? If I change this to JavaScript, it should probably change some things here. Maybe like Bash or something. Let me see. Bash. It didn't change anything, but that's totally fine. But you know, if you're learning how to code, you can select what language it is. It would format it the way it should look like in the actual IDE, right? So put in here, same things you can do in your, you can't actually run this code, but you can actually like, you know, have the colors the way it would be like in like Visual Studio or like Atom or whatever IDE you might use. Same way you can use folders. You can actually even bold in things here to like add a sort of like importance to it. You can bold in things here as well, right? You can actually use itlinks as well. So if you want to like add a little bit of like character to how you're taking your notes or like your coding notes, if you're learning stuff like that, it can help with that as well. So it's another cool feature it has. Next thing is quotes. So let's say you're taking notes and you're reading a book, or you want to bring importance to something again, just like the call out, right? So the call out kind of changes the look of your notes, kind of changes like what that looks like and how you're like outlining your notes and stuff like that. You can use quotes as well, not your regular quotes, but let's use our slash and look for quote, and we'll type in something like, "This is the greatest thing that ever happened to mankind since sliced bread. I never thought I would find a tool as powerful to man as this one. Blessed be the brilliant men created this awesome piece of software." All right, perfect. So random quote from a wise man. This kind of looks out of place here, but I can just copy this, and let's say I'm taking taking notes in here. I can just separate this and make a nice call out with this quote in here. So we can see it separates the view from like a regular paragraph. That way it's like, this is something I want to call out because it's important. It's like a quote from like my book or from what I'm watching, or like you just want to separate things, right? And the more you separate things, the visually easier it is for you to like read and understand like what you're looking at, right? So it's kind of helpful. You can add like a call out here, right? And then by the way, I should actually show you another thing you can do with callouts. Callouts. So for example, you can just like click on your callout, make sure you click the entire block, and then right click, and then you can change the color of your callout to like pink. Oh, actually that changes the words in the callout to like pink. All right, let's change that back to like blue. But selecting the whole callout, you can change the background to like let's do like orange, and boom, change the color. It can change the icon here in your callout. So let's say we want to change this like a key, signifying like key and lock. So key, no key emoji, lock. Oh, I wasn't selecting the emoji, so like the emoji and then key, and boom, we have a key right there. So that's perfect. So that's really the entirety of like creating notes in Notion. I've gone over various things like callouts, quotes, code, commands. For students who are also like taking like notes with math, Notion actually helps you do cool things with equations. So let's do like 3 times 2 divided by 5. Oops, that was an accident. And it should do Command Shift M. Actually, not Command Shift M. That's for comments. And then you can just do a click on this, and then we can look for, actually double click, and we can look for equation. Scratch that. Let me just look for equation. Inline equation. There we go. And then we can just do like, for example, B equals x 2x plus 5, and boom, you have a really nice inline view of your equation. Now let's say your equation was like multiple lines, so like something divided by something or whatever. You can do again search for a command and do search for equation. Once again, your slash is your best friend, a block equation, and you can do something around, well, I don't know what that means, but if you're a math student or a stat student or whatever, you can surely figure this out, understand what this means. But yeah, that's what that looks like. I don't use the math features because I don't take any notes around math, but I know like it has that feature. it's nice to kind of have a different view of, you know, what your equation might look like, right? So that way, it's like the good thing about it is, the thing that's really nice about it is just like the way it gives you different views, and that way when you have different views of what you're looking at with your notes, like I think it really makes the note taking process enjoyable and the note reviewing process a lot more enjoyable. Now, I think what most people came here for is actually the planning, right? The planning thing is like the biggest thing with Notion, right? I use Notion to plan almost everything that I do, like my personal goals, my career goals, my everything, right? So I have like created various boards that I use to like plan various things, right? So for example, like my goals, right? This is a nice way that I use to like plan my goals in Notion and like a timeline, right? So I'm gonna show you how I can do that in Notion. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is probably the hardest part about Notion, right? Like using the boards, because like they're very they're very intricate. Like they have so many moving parts to them. I'm gonna give you a really nice introduction to that. I'm also gonna share a template I created specifically for planning career-wise, especially at the entry level. So let's go ahead and do that. Once again, with Notion, the slash is your best friend. And one really cool thing about Notion is it comes with pre-built templates. So even if you don't have ideas on how to build your own templates, I built my own templates from scratch. And so, because I've been doing this for a while. But if you don't have any ideas on how to build your own templates, it has out-of-the-box templates that you can, you know, use to get started. So if you come to Notion, it would immediately give you this kind of like nice view. And here you can click like a template, and it gives you a ton of templates you can do, right? So if you want to use like do a to-do list, plan your project or whatever, if you're running a business and you want to like do sprints, right? I pretty much use Notion like Jira. Like it's pretty much like I plan my life like I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Meetings as well. There's like you can sync it with a calendar. Docs, reading list, so you can track your reading list. I actually track my reading list with Notion. As a matter of fact, I think I could show that later on. Habit tracker as well. So it comes with pre-built templates that you can customize to your own personal, you know, use case, right? Budgeting, right? So if you want to budget, weekly to-do list. Also comes with a ton of resources for students as well. So if you want to create like a dashboard for, you know, your courses, look at this. This is so nice. Like, look at this. Like, imagine being able to use this to plan your classes. Like, that would be so cool. So you can like, you know, get this template, and it's free, right? So you just copy this template into your Notion board, and you can customize it, add more stuff, you know, make it the way you want it to, right? For notes as well, you can sort out the notes for your different classes, course schedule, and even if you're not like a college student, you can use it to plan your cybersecurity learning. You can do stuff like, oh, maybe I'm taking like a AWS course or like a Security Plus course. You can have everything in a really nice view here. Now I'll show you more about that in a sec. Then, you know, grade calculator, a note-taking system, you know, Cornell note-taking system, a syllabus, class directory, bunch of stuff. Product management, one-on-one notes, product wiki, if you have like a business or a product that you're building, design, a bunch of really cool stuff here, right? So it's pretty much a very extremely versatile tool, and the templates that come with it, I definitely recommend like checking them out and like seeing like which one best, you know, which one you like the most, right? So that way, like, you can create your own designs from these, right? Because like these are what inspired my designs. Like, I didn't have to copy any of these because I kind of already know how to like build my own templates myself, but these are really great starting points for making your own templates in Notion, right? If you don't know where to start. So definitely recommend checking those out. Next thing, I was talking about the boards, right? So let's say I wanted to create a board to track my I need a good idea, a board to track what I was learning, right? Good board idea. Once again, your slash is your best friend, so slash board. So it would immediately ask you for a data source, and that data source could be a different board you've created, or you can entirely start from scratch. So we're going to start from scratch, and we're just going to do a new database, right? And we'll just call this source tracker, and it immediately gives you like a nice status view where you move things between to do, in progress, complete. That way you kind of have like a mental tracker of like, you know, things that you're doing. So let's say we're learning different concepts. So learn TCP IP, learn cloud security fundamentals, and then finally learn Terraform. All right, so very simple, very straightforward, but once again, this is very bland. You can do so much more with this, right? But this is where the complexity comes. As usual, you can, you know, move this around in progress, complete, whatever the case is, right? But if you click in here, it automatically has two groups, right? Status and assign. So assign, you want to assign this to like yourself, or maybe you have someone else using your Notion with you. You can assign it to them if you're like planning stuff or whatever. But this is not really, if this are your personal goals, you're the only one who this is assigned to. So we can completely delete this because it's you who's gonna have to achieve these goals, right? So we can change the properties here. So I have various various things that I do for my properties. So for things when it comes to goals, I think in quarters or 12-week sprints. If you've read the book, the 12-week year, that's what the book is. The 12-week year kind of goes over the concept of planning goals in 12-week stints. I think you should read it. It's really good with planning goals. So let's say I want to divide my goals into quarters. So we can start with like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And the best way to do this is to use a select type, right? And we can name the select type to be due date, right? And then we can add options for it. So let me go over that again. So make sure you didn't miss that. Go in here. We deleted the initial one, which was the assign one. Then we can create a new property here and then select and then rename that to due date and add options for it. So due dates would be, of course, naturally Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. This is perfect if you're planning your goals for next year and you really want to have when you want to achieve these specific goals. Let me actually create one more so we can have one for Q4. So we can do, say, learn detection engineering fundamentals, or just learn detection engineering. That's fine. And again, we can also spice this up by adding like icons to these, right? So we can just add like a globe icon to this. We can add like a cloud icon to this. Cloud. Can add it for Terraform. I'm just gonna find like a cool thing. A cool emojis like an accordion for that. Detection engineering, we could put like a dog in there. All right, dog. Then we have this nice dog. That's good. All right, cool. That's a little better, way better, right? So due date Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and you can immediately start assigning those due dates for that. So let's say my main goal is to first of all learn the basics of TCP/IP. Like I want to understand the protocol, like the person who wrote the RFCs for the protocol. So I'll just assign this for Q1. I'll assign these for Q2, and I'll assign this for Q3, and then assign this for Q4. All right, so cool. But after all the assignments, I don't really know which one is for Q1 or Q2 or Q3 or Q4, except I actually go in and look at it. What I can do is I can actually edit this board by going up here, edit the view. We can go into the board layout and we can look at what is the card preview going to look like. So for example, let's say you have decided to put a nice cover here. We can just change this to network. Boom, nice. And we can go ahead, go back here, and then change the board view to show the page cover. So that way, if I've had it like a nice, view, it would show the page cover. And if you wanted to show more stuff, you can show like the page content. So if you already started taking notes and stuff, it would show up here. So let's say I took TCP, right? You can already see it already shows up right there. So the notes you've taken would just kind of have like a nice view up there, but I prefer to keep it like just to either the cover or not showing anything at all. So I'm going to default it back to not showing anything in the preview. Next is the size. You can either make this a small, you can set a small, you can make this a medium, or you can make this like a large, right? So depending on what your preference is, but I'll keep this to a medium. Right now it's grouped by status. We'll leave it as that for now. I will go over how to change these statuses later on. Then if we go back, we can actually change what we want to see, the properties we want to show, right? So back here, if we go into the properties, we want to show the due date as well. So when we come to our view, we want to immediately see each due date that these different goals are slotted for. So I can immediately see that these goals are for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And if I added another property for, let's do like a select again, achieved in, right? So one thing I like to do is weigh my due dates against when I actually achieved the goal, right? So let's say I slotted a goal for Q1, but I actually achieved it in Q2. I want to go back and review and see why did it take me longer to achieve this goal, or why was I able to achieve this goal earlier than I slotted it for. So we can just change this to achieved in, and then we can add the different select options. So go in here and just type in achieved in Q1, and we just copy that, create, and then do the same thing for achieved in Q2, create another one, and achieved in Q3, create a third one, and then achieved in Q4. And then we can also create one for not started, because sometimes we just never start the goals. In progress, because sometimes we're still having things in progress, right? In progress. Perfect. So we can put these as not started and put this as, let's put this as in progress, and let's put this as we already achieved this in Q1, and let's put this as in progress. Then we can go back here and also add that new parameter we created just now as a field we want to show. So once again, to do that, all right, go in here to this 3 dots, click that, click on the properties, and then click on the show in board. So these are the ones that are hitting, so we can unhide the achievement, and then immediately shows us what these are, when these were achieved, or what status they're currently at the moment. So that way we can have a different view to that as well. Now, this view is cool. Let me see if there's any other thing we can add here as well. Subgroup, okay, I'll go over that in a second. But this view is good. It gives us a view of like status of what we're doing, to do, in progress, and complete. But we also want to have a view of the different quarters that this goal can be achieved, right? So we're gonna go ahead and create a different view of that. So in order to do that, just click the plus sign here, and then it's gonna give you the same board that you just created as a different view. And here you're gonna click board, and then you're gonna select a different group by. So whatever you're grouping by is what it's gonna show you as. It's gonna show the board as, right? So we initially were grouping by the status, but now we want to group by the due date, which is like what quarter you slated this goal to be due by. So we're grouping by due date, and then boom, we have a different view of our goals by the due date, right? So if you want to see what goals we have due at each time of the year, we can add that as well. Now, what's even cooler is if we want to see the due date of that course as well as what status is, not the course. If we want to see the due date of that goal as well as what the status of that goal is at the same time within the same view, we can have a subgroup, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we can either do this within this board or create a new board out of this, right? So let's go ahead and create a new board out of this. Gonna click that plus and then a board, and then make the group by to be by status. Sorry if I'm like making these weird noises, my throat is extremely dry. By status, and then we're gonna go ahead and go back again and then add a subgroup right there. Let me zoom this in so you can see that. So this is the main group, then the subgroup is gonna be by the due date, and boom, you have a different view of what your goals look like. Now you can see each goal due at each quarter and what the status of that goal is. So let's say this was in progress, this was done, this was not started, this was done, right? So you can see like you can even close these out. Like you don't want to see, let's say you only want to focus on first quarter. You can see all the goals in first quarter as well as when they're due by, so that way you can track it a lot better. Another cool thing you can do is you can add a timeline for when you're doing specific things. As you can see here, it syncs across the different boards. So everything that I changed in this board, I changed this to in progress, so we moved it to in progress here as well. Let's actually go ahead and rename these boards so we have a better understanding of what they're doing. So this is the board view. I'm gonna edit view, actually rename and make this status, and then board, this view is by quarter, so I'm just gonna rename it as, and then this last view is by quarter and status, so due plus status, right? So we have a good understanding of what these views are. That didn't change. Let me rename it. Rename, and we name this due plus status. Perfect. So, and we can also move these different views around. So I always like my main view to be the status, so I can see what is in progress or what I'm doing. So but you can always change every, whatever fits your particular need. So what was I talking about? I was gonna go over something, I completely forgot. But we've gone over status, due date, due plus status, due date. Oh, timeline. So timeline is, so what's really nice about Notion is you can see the timeline by which you've done something. For example, I have a goal to achieve 20,000 subscribers by the end of first quarter of next year, and I have a timeline view that shows me when I posted certain videos, right, according to like the calendar. So I can see a nice view of like the different time periods between when I posted different videos accordingly, right? So you can see here, right, I posted a video on the 9th, I posted a video on the 15th, on the 26th, on the 30th, and I've been posting videos consistently over the last couple of days. So I can see like accordingly, I can see the dates there, I can see what video I posted, right? So the same thing here when you're, planning your goals or you're achieving your goals. Where was I think I got lost. There we go. So you might want to have like a timeline to look at. Okay, let me see the time difference between when I achieve these goals, right? So what we can do is go back in here, and whatever property you add for one card automatically populates across every other card within your board. So add a property, and you can add a property for date right there, date. And before I actually go into date, there's a ton of other properties you can add. So let's actually delete this. You can add a property for just like regular text. Let's say you wanted to add a text property for estimated duration of this particular goal, estimated duration, and we could just put something along the lines of 3 weeks, bolding that, give it a nice color. There's property for multi-select. I'll go into that immediately. So let's say you wanted to categorize your goals. So category, let's say we wanted to put this as a category. So I categorize my goals like by various things like finance, health, business, content, whatever the case is. So we had like a category for what this is. So we can say something like, let's say you had to learn this for work skills, learn this for networking skills. Let me just put networking, computer networking is a different category as well. Computer networking, and let's just say career, whatever, right? So these are multiple categories that this goal can be defined by, right? But in here we can't choose multiple, right? Because it only allows us to choose just one. But if you select the multi-select property, right? The multi-select property allows you to put multiple things, but the regular select allows you to use only one thing, right? So you want to use the multi-select when a particular goal or a particular card can have multiple things it can be attributed to. So that's kind of the use case for that. Then you can add a checkbox for that as well. You can add files, you can add a person, you know, you're assigning phone, whatever it is, right? You can also add like a tracker for when you created this card or when last you edited it, and Notion would automatically track that for you. But we're only interested in like the multi-selects, the text, as well as the date. The cool thing about the date is you can click on this, right? And let's say you achieve this goal in let's say today. No, let's do last 2 weeks. Let's do the same thing for some of these other ones and kind of add random dates to them. So date, and we just put in like 13th. Cloud security fundamentals, we just put in something like 16th, and then date here we just put something like 10th. Now we can't see anything about these things here at all, right? We can go ahead and create a different view for this board, and it's gonna go ahead and click new. Actually, not new. New creates a new card. So I meant click here. No, not click there. Click here and add a view. All right, so click here, add a view, and same thing here is going to be board, and you want to group by, not due date, estimated duration. Okay, scratch that. Let me take this out. You're not creating a board, you're creating a timeline view. Delete that. Go ahead here, click add, and then come on. Okay, add view, and then timeline. There we go, timeline. So a timeline immediately populates with the dates you created. You don't have to do anything extra. It automatically shows you the dates by which when you achieve specific things. And you can add other properties to the timeline, right? You can add like the date. You can add the due date as well. As you can see, the date already populated there. You can add the due date. It adds that as well. So that way you have a nice view of when you actually achieve these specific goals. And the more stuff you achieve, like it goes down. So you can see like over a year period, like, you know, how many things you did, and also like the nice slope or gradient by which like it, you know, shows the different goals you achieved, right? So that's another really cool view by which you can categorize your Notion goals as. I think those are the major things that I want to cover with like goals. And also I created a Notion template, and let's see where it is at. All right, there we go. So I created a Notion template. I think is very evident of specific things you might need to learn in order to like build your skills for cybersecurity at the entry level stage, or for cybersecurity analyst skills over a 6 or 12 month period. And this varies by like various people's like trajectories, right? So I also have a template tutorial for it. So I have like a 10-minute video that I go over exactly how to use this template, and I show you everything that you can do with the template. But this is what the template actually looks like, right? It has 7 board views, right? So you can see the goals by the status plus when it's due by. So let's say we assign these different goals, different statuses. So let's actually do this right now. This status is set for never due because it can never be done with practice and labs. But let's say we wanted to plan our IT career goals for 2023. So we go ahead and click this. I want to achieve this in Q1, and this is in progress. I want to achieve learning networking fundamentals in Q1 as well, and then still in progress. I want to achieve learning Linux fundamentals as well. This is a real world example of how I would do it, right? Using this template, for example. So Q1, and this is still in progress. Security fundamentals in Q1. By the way, these are estimated time frames. Right, achieved in, still in progress. Then create a LinkedIn profile as well. I want to do that in Q1. Build my first cybersecurity home lab. I want to do that in Q2. Actually, let me move this to still in progress. Build my first cybersecurity home lab. I want to do this in Q2. I haven't started this yet. Create a resume. I have to do this in Q1. Not started this yet. Let's say I wanted to do PMPT or EJPT in Q3. Let's make this actually Q2. I haven't started that yet. BTL1, I want to make that Q4. AWS, let's make this Q3. And then Azure Detection Lab, I'll do that in Q4. All right, Python Fundamentals, I'll do that in Q4 as well. Create a keylogger, I'll also do that in Q4. So I have planned my cybersecurity goals accordingly to when I want to achieve them, right? So you can see if we go into this due date view, we can see these different goals according to when I want to actually achieve them. First stage. Next stage is we can look at these different goals according to like the status of these goals and also when they're due, right? So let's say I'm already working on, let's see, learning security fundamentals, and I'm also learning the networking fundamentals as well, learning IT fundamentals as well. But I'm already done creating my resume and my LinkedIn as well. I also learned Linux fundamentals because when I was a kid, I knew how to use Linux, right? So I can kind of track that for each quarter. So quarter one, and let's say I'm done with all these, I can just close this view out. I can do the same thing for Q2 as well, Q3, Q4, all the way down, right? So I can see the status of the goal as well as when it's due. I can also see the category of these goals, right? So I subdivided these goals into different categories. So the foundations, certifications, project, career planning, labs, right? So as you can see here, you can also see the status of these goals in the view of the card, which I showed you earlier on. You can add specific properties you want to see in each of these particular goals. For example, in the status, I'm not going to add the in progress or complete into the card because I can see it from here. However, in the category, I want to see what status these goals are at this current time period, so I can see that there as well. You can also see the category plus when it's due, right? So let's say you're categorizing your goals according to different things, and want to see, okay, how are my foundations looking, right? How are my foundations looking? My cybersecurity learning foundations, right? Okay, so I'm learning all the foundations in Q1, but looks like I'm learning Python fundamentals in Q4. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, right? So that way I have a kind of like, mental note for that. So you've seen the status. You've seen the status plus due date, you've seen the category, you've seen the category plus due, you've seen the due date, and then the next one is the due plus when it was achieved, right? So remember the tutorial I showed you, you can also categorize by when you actually achieve these goals, right? Let's say I plan to achieve all these goals in Q1. Ideally, all these should be set up here if I actually did achieve them in Q1. But let's say I didn't actually make a LinkedIn profile until Q4, right? Now I can go back when I'm looking at my goals and be like, oh shoot, I didn't actually achieve these goals until Q4. Maybe I should learn to prioritize better and create my LinkedIn profile earlier on, or plan better, right? That way when you're looking back at your goals, you can easily like kind of look at how you actually did things and if you actually moved the way you actually wanted to move, right? So that's kind of what this template is, and I actually have this template available at a cost actually, because like it took a lot of time to make this template. So I have designed this template in different views. So this particular one that has the 7 views has a sample note taking template as well that you can use for all of your notes. It also comes with like guides for each of these different things you're doing, right? So let's say for your labs, have various lab recommendations here for building your home lab, various recommendations here for the certifications as well, for learning the different fundamentals, different recommendations here, how to take your notes, creating your LinkedIn profile, various recommendations here. And this entire view, right, is what contains everything, right? But and there are other levels to it where you can have like lesser views, but also like kind of the same thing. So I'm gonna link these templates in the chat right now so that if you want to get it, it will be readily available to you. But I think this is like a really good way to like plan your cybersecurity career, all of that. But aside of that, I also want to show a couple of other things and just like miscellaneous things you can do with Notion. So another thing you can do with Notion is, let's take a look at this here. You can change the style of what you're doing. Let me just delete this board. So let's say these notes you're taking are like extremely boring, right? You don't like what they look like. You can change what they look like. And I'm going to show that in a second. So delete view. All right, perfect. Before I show that, you can actually also recover your notes because Notion stores your notes in the cloud. So if you actually go in here, you can go back and see the history of this page. So all the various changes that I made in this page are saved and are synced in the cloud, so that way I can easily go back to different stages by which these notes page was. So let's say like I want to go back to the original view of this page, right, which was nothing. I can go back there. I want to go back here or here when I had like this view or when I had this view, right? So it kind of you can restore it back to that version, so that way like if you lost something, you can go back to that. But the caveat there is the fact that it only does that when Notion is online. If it's offline, you lose everything you're working on, which is kind of sad. I wish they had a fix to that. So let me see like random stuff here. Let me copy up something random, put it in here. All right, cool. So paragraph, right? Nice paragraph, another paragraph. So this looks kind of bland. Once again, I might want to change the font. Notion doesn't give you so many options with font. So if you go up here to the top right, you can change the font to like a serif or a mono. You can make the text to be small or make that to be normal. You can also adjust this. As you can see here, it has like borders to the left and to the right, which kind of limits your view of what you're looking at. But if you go in here, you can change this to full width, and that way you can see your note in like a really nice expanded view. That way it's like much more accessible. But then again, it's like I prefer the other view most times as well. Then you can also change this to dark mode. It's kind of nice. So if you go on here to the top left and click on settings and then go into my notifications and settings, you can go here and change this to dark mode, and poof, you have dark mode Notion, which is kind of nice. Good when you're doing stuff at night and you don't want to like blast your eyes out with the white and everything. But yeah, I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover with Notion. Let's take a quick look at what we did today. So we did go over video embeds. Oh, actually we didn't go about video embeds. So one really cool thing about Notion is you can embed videos in Notion. So let's say I wanted to embed a YouTube video, for example. Let me copy a YouTube video, for example, and see. This is really good when you're taking notes and you don't want to like split between like your note and like a screen for, you don't want to split between the screen for your notes and the screen between where you're taking your notes. So let's say I'm taking notes about this, for example. I can embed this video and it will put this video inside my Notion page, right? And shameless plug here for one of my videos. So I can actually watch this video in Notion. So if I click on this, come on, don't disappoint me because it's still loading. All right, that is disappointing, but you can actually watch this. You can actually click into the video. Let me see if come on, okay, let me take this out. Sometimes, excuse me, you can actually watch the video in here. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. You can watch the video in here and like just take notes underneath, right? Let me see. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me do that, but you can actually, you are able to watch this video. Actually, maybe because it's my video. Like, it's kind of being biased because of my video. Let me find someone else's video and let's see. Let's look for GPS. And the reason why I wanted to show that is because like I know sometimes like when you're watching a video or a course, you don't want to switch between like screens. It'll be really nice to be able to take your notes within the same view by which you're watching that video. So let me try a different video, see if it works. So if I put this in here, hopefully it works this time. All right, paste, embed. All right, we can close this. By the way, this is a GPS video about ChatGPT. Oh, it's not playing the video either. Come on. Yeah, but I promise you, you can actually play the video inside Notion and take your notes in there. Like I have done this before. I just don't know why it's like being particularly difficult today. Maybe I'm clicking it in the wrong places, but believe my words, I'm actually like that actually works. But yeah, so I went over pages, I went over callouts, I went over headings, I went over toggle headings, subheadings, bullet points, hyperlinks, emojis, commands like Command Shift P, Command Shift F, Command Shift H, the slash that can show you everything you need. I went over paragraphs, I went over bold, italics, command line text, table of content, bullet points. What else do we go over? We went over to-do lists, we went over creating a board, we went over the different views, we went over the style, the text size, pricing, full width, and dark mode, of course. I think that pretty much covers everything about Notion. I can't think of anything else I'm leaving out. That's really it. I think I really exhausted all of my knowledge on Notion. I think like this is a very comprehensive guide. And one thing I would say is like, in order to really get better at Notion, you just have to like use it more. When I first started using Notion, like I wasn't like this good at it. So it just took me time to just keep using it, finding new features. Another nice feature is the tabs. Actually, I almost forgot that. So you can actually switch between tabs in Notion, which is really cool. I've been waiting for this feature for the longest time because that means I can move between different views and different things I'm working on. So let's say like I'm working on something here and I want to work on something else here. I can make another tab. I can make as many tabs as I want, which I love so much because I can move between different views if I'm working on different things, which I really appreciate. So that way, like it's really convenient. So yeah, that's what I love about another thing I love about Notion as well. If you want to check out that Notion template I showed you, it's going to be linked in the description. And yeah, I hope you found value in this video, and anyone who wanted to learn about Notion learn everything they wanted to learn. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.